doing here? Come on, come on.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 7th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of the exits around the room and now join us in saluting the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. First item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for the Hyde Park Town Center North, which is specifically more for Mavis Tire Repair. Ms. Leibold is here, the only person in our audience tonight so far.
No, we have no audience.
So let me turn it over to you.
I don't know if I should be disappointed or happy.
We ought to open the public.
Thank you. Do you have to do open?
May I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now you got to ask if there's anybody that would like to speak.
No, we're going to let Ms. Leibold speak first.
Thank you.
I tried.
I'm actually here tonight, I'll start with the end and then I'll go back to the beginning, to request that we could adjourn the public hearing again. And I thought it was best to actually come and talk to you versus sending a letter, because it's been some time since we were before you, and just let you know what we've been working on versus just continuously sending letters in. So we did hear what you said at the last meeting. We got a lot of good feedback. A lot of different feedback, so we were pulling all of that information together. We've had subsequent conversations with some of the consultants about the board's desires, just to clarify some of the things that you were looking for. And I'm glad to report that we've been working with Mavis, I think everyone was aware of that, to try to see if they would work on some modifications to their program, which would result in modifications to the building layout and where the bays and the entrances and so forth are located. So we have been diligently working with them. There's really been a lot of back and forth. So we present a concept and they come back and say yes or no, and we present another concept. So they have been very willing, and so we're glad about that. There are a lot of layers at Mavis that it needs to go through. So I was hoping that tonight we had the final approval for one that I think that everyone will like. But I didn't, and I thought it was too quick to present it to you without having their acknowledgement and also kind of flushing it through, Joe Berger's review and Phil Greeley's review. So we have Phil Greeley on board, the traffic consultant. So my hope is that tomorrow we have that, and then we're going to really work on integrating that into the site plan, and then working with Phil and Joe to address some of the issues that we think you may have or questions that you may have. So at the next meeting, we could functionally present something that has closed all the loops. We've dotted the i's, we've crossed the t's, and we could present that to you. I'm sure that there'll be feedback and some changes from there, but we're hoping that that's something that you like. I mean, what we are working on, just to bring everyone up to speed, is relocating the bays from the west side to the east side and or to the north side. So that's what we've been working on. I think that was something that you guys had presented and talked about. So if you would give us another week, and we will hopefully get this response back from Mavis, and then we can put that on the site plan and come and talk to you about what those changes are. There is, some reduction too in the size and the massing of the building. So we're hoping to present that to you on the 21st, if you are having a meeting.
We are, and most of this board worked with Stop and Shop many years ago, and so we're familiar with what it's like for the applicant to be working with a major corporation, because contrary to popular belief at the time, some people were saying that it took us 2 years because of a sign. That wasn't it at all.
Yeah.
We would propose a change or suggest changes, and it would sometimes take 3 to 4 months before they came back to us, because there's different layers
Yeah.
of the corporate. They had their own planning board, in other words. It was internal and
Right.
had to weigh in, approve, et cetera. So please take your time. And it's fine. What I think you want us to do is to adjourn this to a January meeting, the public hearing, just come in for workshop on the 21st?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And there being no one from the public, I'm not going to ask for public comment. But any comments from the consultants?
I don't think this is on, but.
It doesn't seem to be.
The only thing I was gonna say was, were you gonna submit something prior to?
Herb, the microphone's not working over there.
While he's working on the microphone,
This is actual, that's live and it's.
Can I just-
You don't have to turn.
You're
it
not
on.
allowed to talk.
It's on.
On, forget that.
I'm the note taker. Just what are we requesting adjourn to what date?
The
January,
What is our first January date? Is it
see.
Third?
the 3rd, I believe? The 4th?
January 4th? Thank you.
What I was going to say was, Kelly, were you going to try to submit something a week ahead of time?
Yeah, we were hoping.
Like by the 14th, is that?
Yes, we were
Okay.
hoping to do it on the, that's what we're
Okay,
asking
okay,
for, if
just wanted
that's
to clarify.
okay. So generally
I
what
mean,
we
it's fine with
do,
me, it's up to the board.
generally what we do is we.
Wasn't
provide-
plugged in well.
Well, that's a heck of a thing.
Not my fault.
So to get control back over this discussion,
Another high-tech
just so that everyone is aware, when we have new applications, and if there's a lot of information, if this is a brand-new one, we're supposed to receive information 2 weeks prior. But I usually call it colloquially, once you're in the pipeline like this, we've been familiar with what's going on, a week is usually sufficient time, so.
And generally,
It's just going to be a layout, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
you're not going
Yeah.
to have a full set
No.
of plans. It's just a concept
Revised
layout.
concept.
Yeah.
and we're going to put it on the site plan so you can see
Yeah.
how everything
Right.
integrates again. What we normally do is submit paper copies, but
Right.
if it's okay with you, we would submit paper copies to the town, and I can also reply to that email and provide everyone with a PDF, or I can send it to you and the consultants, and they can send it to the planning board, whatever you'd like to
You know, I
do.
think paper copies is fine.
So just do the paper?
Yeah.
That'll be enough time for everyone to
I
get it.
personally have a harder time with plans, seeing that on the computer. I can't.
Okay,
When I get close in and everything else disappears, I'm a
Okay.
paper guy. I'm an analog guy. How does that sound?
all right, so we'll bring on the 14th. then
I'm a
we'll bring
Luddite, I admit
copies.
it. Hey, I did adopt Uber. I mean, I finally downloaded Uber. I feel very, very late adopter. Any other comments from the board? Yes.
Yeah, I missed the last meeting, I just, sorry. So I just wanted to reiterate my general concerns, that it's always going to be about safety and noise. And that's why I've been a huge advocate for the Rugies model, where there's, like, you neck it down to just like an entrance and an exit. So I'm a little concerned if we're going to go to have multiple bays all facing east, because I'm not sure how you're going to deal with the traffic safety issue.
I
So I just want to make that very clear, that safety for me at this point, and noise, because to me, having everything enclosed with just 2 doors kind of mitigates all my concerns. So I just wanted to make that really clear. That's all.
One of the problems is, and I appreciate that, and that's why we have Phil Greeley on board, so we can talk to him about how, there's a lot of moving parts there. One of the challenges that we have sometimes is we're trying to, we, not you, are trying to tell Mavis how to program the inside of their building based on some of the site plan challenges and constraints. And when we presented that to them, there were some difficulties with them on how they run. It's a different program. So I saw Rugies, and I saw how they work inside of there. And it's a different model inside, how Rugies does their automobile repair and how Mavis does their automobile repair, with the way that they have, I'll call them a stall, because I grew up on a horse farm. But so you have like a stall and it's a bay, and each person is functionally supposed to have that work area. They have their own tools for maximum efficiency. And so we're trying to hear I think that we will have addressed a lot of your concerns. So we're trying to listen to what you say and incorporate that into exterior that works, and allow them on the inside to lay that out so it still works for them as well. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And, there's other sites, the Mavis and Beacon also is a building that only has an in and an out. I think that was also a rehab of an older building.
Right.
That they,
Right.
and I think it actually was CRS, and then I think Mavis took it over, so.
We showed them a lot of those that you had provided to us, and that's what they were. They were either ones that they had purchased. And so, I think that if you went to the the gentleman who runs Rugi's, and he said to him, because they are doing some revamping of their building, if you were to start from scratch and do a new layout, would you do it like this? And I'm gonna guess he would say no. You know, it works because they
Yeah,
had a
obviously they
building.
modified it over the years.
Correct. And so since we have a clean slate, we're trying to meet everyone in the middle
Right,
and work, you know, we're saying to them, okay, well, these are where your openings need to be. How can we make that work inside?
Right.
And we've been really going back and forth. I mean, I think we're on
good,
concept.
okay.
Like
I just wanted
11.
to, because I wasn't
Yeah.
here at the last meeting, and I know that there's been so much discussion, and that really at the end of the day, for me,
It's safety, yeah.
it's all about safety and
And
noise.
Well, so the site is challenging because you have the entrance that comes in off of Route 9 on the north side, and then you have this through road in the back. And so we can certainly do a lot with traffic calming on the through road, because we did hear a lot of the noise issues could be mitigated with, in theory, rotating the building 180 degrees, so flipping it. And it's true, you know, because the back has the cliff, just like Monroe has that, you know, that big cliff in the back. So again, we have watched the video over and over again. I've taken copious notes. I mean, we really have tried to listen, because there
I appreciate
isn't
that,
a
I do.
consistent theme where everyone was saying, okay, make the building X, and it's easy. So there's a lot of different things that people wanted, which is good. That's what it's supposed to be. And so we're trying to put all of that together, but at the same time, they're saying, well, we have program
Right,
requirements.
no, I understand.
And so, yes, if it was a different type of automobile repair, maybe it would work, but we have these stations that are set up. So we're gonna show you what we have. I'm hoping that you like it, and I'm hoping that we can address the safety. The through road is, again, it's something that we can control because it's privately owned, and one of the owners of this property is common to the other property, so we can do some of those off-site improvements to try to slow people down through there. I think everyone, it's important to keep that through road open. That really needs to stay, and we need to recognize that that's critical for the function of that whole intersection and so forth. So we want to work in making that happen.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention one thing that I don't want Mr. Berger to forget. Sometimes he gets wound up. I want to make sure that he moves that entrance from the shopping center, you know, where Hyde Park Pizza is, back away from the road. You
Wait.
understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, you're talking
Alright,
about,
he
yeah,
tends to
because
forget
Alex
things and-
Sarukas was here.
Yeah.
So we talked to Alex about that, and one of his concerns is that he needs to make sure that that's a weird property line. Do you remember how there's like a jag through? So we do want to shift that, but I imagine that you want that shift to be much further in.
Yeah, so that
And I
there-
think
people
that-
aren't trying to dodge everybody.
Right.
I go through there enough times so that it's dangerous.
Yeah, and so I'll make a note so that,
Just based on your use alone.
Just based on my use alone.
No, remember, we have a new business in town where Twist used to be, is now an Hispanic, Mexican food restaurant called El Guacamole. And as that gets more popular and they start advertising, I remember when it was Twist and To Taste, and there's a really bad conflict. We've all identified it there, where if you're trying to get out and take the left and there's people coming in, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
Because they're too close to the actual entrance of the Pine
yeah,
Woods.
there's too many turning movements
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay,
So that is a
thank
good-
you for reminding me of
Yeah,
that.
because
Okay.
Mr. Berger forgets sometimes.
Thank you. And then before I close the public, or ask for a motion to close the public hearing, I just want to say, sort of for the record, I appreciate large corporations having set ways of doing things, but if large corporations really want to be in a community that's small like this, they sometimes have to adapt.
They are. Yeah,
I was gonna say,
I
'cause-
don't want to have sent the wrong
No,
message.
but when I
Yeah,
hear
they
like,
are.
well, they have a way of doing this, all we're talking about is having exterior bays that function or stay as windows. You still can have your
Yeah.
internal stall, you can have your own equipment.
And they are. Yeah, they really are. And they've been flexible.
I figured they want to be here because this is their third time since I've been on the
Yeah.
board that they've, keep trying to find new locations that aren't deed restricted out like the other two were.
Yeah, I hope I didn't send the wrong message.
No,
but they-
just I wanna make
all that
sure
I was
that-
saying is that I don't want to get to the point where it's like, I guess I used the McDonald's example, which is probably a bad one to use, but, I mean, there's a flow to when someone orders and the hamburger gets cooked and then it gets put into a package, and so they have a flow also, and so I don't want to get to the point where we're telling them, you can't do your business. Yeah, and so, but they have been extremely flexible. We've had many visits up here.
Good.
With them, and Adrian has been up here a lot, so.
Great. So there being no further public comment, may I get a motion to adjourn this public hearing to January the 4th?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, thanks for coming out tonight.
And then we'll see her on the 21st,
January
right?
4th?
And the
Isn't it the
workshop
4th?
on the 21st.
Wait, January 4th?
Workshop, 21st.
Yes.
And then January
And
4th.
we're reserving a place on the workshop
hearing.
for the, if they make the submission in time, assuming all that happens.
Yes, and
Okay.
then the public hearing, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is a new public hearing.
You need a vote.
Did we not say all in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I think that's the second time I'm with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is a new public hearing for Belvedere Inn. May I get a motion to open that public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
To briefly recap, the applicant's representatives are here. There were some buildings that were erected without prior approval. What we've done is we're conducting this public hearing so that we can bring everyone in, and bring everything into compliance, and so that the inn can continue operating in its back rooms as well. Is there anything you guys want to come up and add for tonight?
Good evening. Jennifer Van Tile from Cuddy and Fader, and this is Warren Temple Smith, the project architect. I think you put it very succinctly. This is an unusual application for all of us, I think, because we're not really proposing to do anything. It's sort of what you see is what you get. I think we just emphasize that the two buildings there that are small buildings behind the mansion were all at one time approved, so it's not as if they're wildly illegal. Their approvals have expired, and there's new laws in place now, so it's just generated a host of requirements that need to be dealt with. But the purpose of this application is to bring everything into full compliance, both as to site planning by having a proper site plan prepared, and also because there was an intervening change in zoning, that those buildings, even though lawful when built, because their approvals expired, they fall subject to a provision of the law that if a use permitted under zoning but no longer permitted expands, it requires a special permit from this board. I think it's interesting that one of the factors that the board judges on a special permit, of course, is the effect on the neighborhood, and I think these buildings have actually been there so long that they're
Part of the
a
character
de
of the
facto
neighborhood.
part of the neighborhood, and their benign character has been proven by time and experience of the municipality as a whole. So, Warren, I don't know whether you want to just highlight anything on the plan in case.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Do you want the walkabout?
And it wasn't a question.
Heard over the din of the public.
Can you still see that, Mr. Can you still see that, Mr. Sweet?
The public can't see it that way.
You got to turn it a little bit towards the camera.
Yeah, there you go.
How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, so at the last meeting, it was noted that there's customarily a sheet of tabulation of zoning and site information that wasn't on the site plan or survey, so we put together a sheet that has the sort of area map, has images of the various buildings on the property, the mansion itself, the so-called carriage house, the Zen Lodge and the Hunter's Lodge, and some of the pavilions that are there, and then an overall aerial photograph showing the site development. And I think in the draft resolution, there were some additional pieces of information that we had provided you in sort of letter format that you asked be incorporated. So when we revise the sheet, we can certainly add those to the sheet as well. But so this is a new sheet that you haven't seen before, but it just sort of establishes what Jennifer said, what's there, what's existing that we're hoping through this site plan and special permit process with contingencies to get approvals for the buildings that were built without permits or with expired permits to then move forward and bring everything into compliance per the current zoning. The site plan itself has not changed since the last time we were before the board. It shows all the existing buildings. As you may recall, there are two signs in the property, one out here visible from Route 9 and another at the driveway entrance. Both of those had zoning compliance issues, which we've addressed before the zoning board, and sought and received the requested variances for size and location. The buildings, the mansion itself, again, the carriage house, the what's called the Zen Lodge started life as something different, I think a partial retail space, and over time there was addition put on and was converted to all guest rooms, and then finally the Hunter's Lodge building built without a valid building permit. There's a swimming pool, which has been the subject of much discussion. We have, happy to report, completed installation of a new code-compliant enclosure around the pool, including gates. I have the certificate of occupancy application signed by both me and the supervising general contractor to submit to Mr. Westermeyer for his review and his own site inspection. There are some additional issues with the pool that will be dealt with by the Department of Health, but it's been winterized, it's been covered, and we can't really do anything with that because it involves some underground electrical work until the spring. So we're not seeking to actually use the pool even next year until all of those things have been addressed to the satisfaction of the health department and the town of Hyde Park. There's a tennis court, and there are a couple of ancillary sheds on the property. Again, as Jennifer mentioned, we're not seeking to change or add anything to what's there right now. We are just seeking to, once again, get a site plan approval, giving us conditionally the time to get the necessary certificates of occupancy for the Zen Lodge and the Hunter's Lodge.
Excuse me, Warren, I think it might be appropriate to mention with respect to that sheet, we did make it very clear when we were before the board at the last meeting. There have in the past been tents placed on the property for events. We're aware of the fact that some of those events caused issues with the neighbors relating to noise, so we're just making it very clear we're not applying for any such thing now, either in a permanent structure or tents. It's stipulated that if any such proposition were to ever be considered in the future, it would have to come before the board, and also the square footage of those spaces would require an amended special permit.
Right.
Right. Thank you, Jennifer. That's exactly right. I'm just, again, showing you documents you've seen before, a landscaping plan, which was not part of a past submission, but something that the zoning office and your board had requested, documenting the existing landscaping. Nothing new is proposed here. And then finally, we have a site plan showing lighting. And there really is no lighting trespass into neighboring properties. And again, we're not proposing to change any of that lighting at this time. I do have images of the two signs. This is the one seen from Route 9, which again received approval from the zoning board. And the other one back at the entrance, the second sign. If you drive up the old post road here off of Route 9, because it's such a almost 180-degree turn to come in, if you don't know that there's a sign, it's easy to miss the entrance to Belvedere and just kind of continue off into the hinterland. So I'm happy to report that both of those signs are now considered legitimate. With that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you. Before I turn it over to the consultants, are all the easements shown and labeled? They're on the survey, but there are no other easements, right? Just the access?
The access easement, yes.
And then last meeting in October, we'd requested a summary of the size of all the fuel storage tanks. Again, I don't remember, but I know that above a certain capacity, taken collectively, it becomes a tank farm.
Yeah, we checked that with the DEC, and our understanding is that it's not the tanks in the aggregate, it's the individual tanks, and we don't cross their threshold. They said it was not of concern to them.
I think
That's accurate, too.
the zoning administrator, though, is still interested in having some detail on the number of tanks on the.
Right, we do have a list of each of the tanks.
Okay, thank you. If you could just provide that information to her.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, the only other items that we mentioned last time you've taken care of now with the tabular summary. And I'm going to get really picayune or granular here, but there's a signature block shown on every page of the site plan. Normally, it's just shown on the cover. I can sign every one of those if you want me to. Right over there to the right are your signature blocks.
We can remove it from any page. Which page would you like it to be on?
It's only just on the cover.
The cover page?
I'm being picky because our zoning administrator is a strict constructionist.
Yeah.
So I'd have to sign every one of them, and I'm like, can we just do that once?
Yeah, we can put it on the cover sheet, absolutely.
Because there's usually a lot to sign anyway.
Right.
So, okay, thank you.
Warren can use that space to add the notes that have been
There
requested.
you go, right.
I think it'll,
Receiving a copy of these new plans
Yeah,
before the next meeting?
of course.
Okay.
I think,
that the cover sheet, I believe, has already been submitted.
I don't know that that's been submitted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
so if you're going to submit new sets of plans, would half-size plans be acceptable for the board? Everyone?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So you can do 11 by 17 for us instead of the big ones and save a little money? And paper. No. We have to have 3 still big ones for, or 4, I should say. Mr. Sotero, any comments?
No, we have no engineering.
Ms. Polidoro, any additional comments?
No further comments.
We start to my right, Ms. DiNapoli,
No comments.
Mr. Oliver,
No comments.
Ms. Dexter,
None.
Mr. Groninger,
None.
Mr. Murphy? No. Ms. Kane?
No, I think that our lack of comments speaks to our appreciation. I guess I should speak for myself, but I appreciate the fact that you're working hard to bring all of this into compliance, and we look forward to having this business open again and functioning in our town.
And congratulations on getting the variances from the ZBA.
Thank you.
I thought it was very masterfully argued. That informational sign, directional sign, needed to be where it was and the size. But actually, if you look at the site plan, the way Mr. Smith just showed it, it's pretty clear that you really do need a big identifying sign there because it's a
Right.
hairpin turn.
It's unbelievable.
Many
It
people have
really
missed
is.
this before, I know. So it's better to have it there.
Yeah.
My only comment was what you heard earlier, that I think Ms. Moss would still like to know, again, a list of all the fuel tanks that are there.
I think we have that on the plans, and that's in the new plans that you'll get.
And we had prepared a resolution, but Ms. Moss exerted substantial control and resistance over our passing it tonight because she wanted to make sure that the building department was congruent with what your plans or what you've done for the pool, because obviously the Department of Health issues are going to be bigger and can be going down the line. She was also concerned that you hadn't started the process of getting Mr. Westermeyer what he needs in order to certify that the buildings are, in other words, since he missed watching footings go in, et cetera, there's a path that you can get to getting a CO for an already built building, but he wanted to make sure that was started. And
It has been started.
and speaking to Jennifer and you now today, I understand it has been. So what I'd like to do is just adjourn this for 2 weeks and consider taking it up at the 21st, because according to Mr. Westermeyer, he'll be able to give this attention as soon as you submit your paperwork for the CO.
Yeah.
He's promised to do that.
Right. Could I say a few words?
Please do so.
I want to confirm that we really have been working very hard and appreciate the town's cooperation in moving this forward. I think our intention in all of this has been focused on getting the amended site plan, because the most prominent of the messages that we've received from the town is that absent the signed site plan, the site really isn't in conformance. And so we've been working in that direction, and we recognize that the pool fence has been a point of provocation for way too long. And
Sorry to laugh.
so we do have the letter now, and Warren will take that up with Don tomorrow. We have no objection to postponing any approval until that's done. But I did want to address one of the issues relating to how any conditions about the pool would be imposed. The pool fence, of course, has been an issue that the town has been talking about for more years than any of us care to remember. But the point that was recently made about Department of Health requirements for the pool was prompted by the DOH response to the lead agency circulation, wherein they said, we have no problem with you being lead agency, but we also mentioned these other permits are required. When we learned that we knew that these other permits were required and spoke to the Department of Health to see if the requirement for the pool to obtain a permit to be publicly open would delay in any way their permitting for the operation of the facility. And they said, no, they're not insisting that that be something that's a prerequisite to the other permits that they're issuing. And we would ask that if you want to impose a condition, and we don't object to a condition that forbids any use of the pool until all permits are issued. In fact, that was the reason we were fencing in the pool, so that there wouldn't be any danger of anyone possibly using it. But we would ask that you not impose a condition that prevents the chair from signing the site plan until that is done, because the work can't be finished until the good weather of 2017. And we want to have a signed site plan so that we can open the mansion according to a signed site plan.
You guys start doing fire inspections, everything?
Yes, we
and you
understand we need
yeah.
a fire inspection for that, and we're working towards that. So we don't object to a condition, but we believe the condition should be, subject to, of course, Don's approving the fence. That's job number one, of course. But if he does that, it will be based upon representations that we will have made to him, acknowledging that there can be no use of the pool until all these other permits are issued, and no argument will be made that merely approving the fence.
I saw your email from
Okay.
yesterday you sent to Ms.
Yeah.
Polidoro, so
Okay.
you had suggested putting a letter on file, et cetera, so that it would not be used until it was fully brought into compliance with the
Right.
Department of Health. And I think we can make that, we can figure out a way to make the resolution, the condition, allow chairman's signature or authorized designee to go on.
I think we would ask for a note to be added to the site plan.
That's what I was just going to
That's
say.
fine.
That's what I was gonna say,
That
too, right.
prohibited the use of the
Right.
pool until
At the
such
time
time.
of the signing of the plat, blah, 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 or something like that.
That's fine, that's fine.
Do you know, are you going to have to make, does the pool now have to comply with ADA requirements? Meaning, there's this big machine that lets people in a wheelchair go in and out of a pool? Do you know?
I don't know that.
Okay. The reason why I ask is it's quite an expensive process, and when I was in Hawaii 2 years ago, they had just installed them at the Four Seasons Hotel. It's a pretty big apparatus, this
I was
thing.
thinking.
It's big. So,
It's big, and you can be subject to a off-the-wall lawsuit instantaneously. I don't know if you just saw the 60 Minutes on that. I believe that's where it was.
I didn't, I just was
Really?
curious
Like in
because
Florida, but not
when it was saying public use, and I know it's not meant
No,
for
it's
the
ADA.
public, but.
This is
public-
federal.
The public is allowed to rent lodging there,
Sure,
and they
of
can then
course.
use the pool, and I just wondered, I don't know if it's based on the size of the pool, or if it's all pools or what, so, but that I know will take some time, because it's a special, I mean, I think there's probably only a few manufacturers of this kind of equipment apparatus that's utilized for this.
I mean, I'm aware of at least one local facility that closed their pool down because of the expense of adding this
Really?
ADA-compliant facility.
The Cupolas, that's right.
Yes.
That's why they closed in their
They
pool.
closed it,
Tell me, I
filled it
forgot
in.
now, right.
Well, that's a very good point, and we'll check into that.
Yeah.
Because I was going to suggest you may want to check into it ahead of time, because that might change the direction you're going with the pool. Because you may do like some other places and just fill in the pool.
Or make it a reflective pool.
Does that mean we need an amended site plan?
After spending all that time on the fence. Right.
I don't believe, no, to close a pool, you don't.
I was saying that lightly, thank you.
So we were prepared, though,
There's
to,
no grandfathering.
And
right, we were prepared to do a part two tonight with the board. It's good practice for us. Bob, you have this file, you probably have this in your book. Do you want to go ahead and go through the list? Or do you want me to lead it?
Why don't you go ahead? I don't even know if it's in here. I'll have to look for it.
Okay, so this is a type 1 action because of its location, and it's located near a property listed on the Federal Registry, which should be Stone Gate, I think it is. Now I'm forgetting the name. So part 2, to be completed by the lead agency, impact on land. Does proposed action would involve construction on or physical alteration of the land surface of the proposed site? Actually, no, because it's already been all constructed.
Just give it to Mike.
Impact on geological features. The proposed action may result in the modification or destruction of or inhibit access to any unique or unusual landforms on the site, such as cliffs, dunes, minerals, fossils, or caves. No. Impacts on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or their surface water bodies, i.e. streams, rivers, ponds, or lakes. Nope. Impact on groundwater. The proposed action may result in new or additional use of groundwater or may have the potential to introduce contaminants to groundwater and aquifer. No, they're on water. Town municipal water. Impact on flooding. The proposed action may result in development on lands subject to flooding. No, and actually, I don't think your lands are subject to flooding up there because they're pretty high up.
That would be a heck of a flood.
If it floods up there, New York City is underwater. Impacts on air. The proposed action may include a state-regulated air emission source. No. Impacts on plants and animals. The proposed action may result in a loss of flora and fauna. Nope. The site's already fully developed. Impact on agricultural resources. The proposed action may impact agricultural resources. No. Question 9, impact on aesthetic resources. The land use of the proposed action are obviously different from or are in sharp contrast to current land use patterns between the proposed project and a scenic or aesthetic resource. No, and I think actually this is its own aesthetic resource and scenic resource actually for our community. Question 10, impact on historic and archaeological resources. The proposed action may occur in or adjacent to an historic or archaeological resource. The answer is
Yes.
yes, but it's all minor, small impacts down below. Impact on open space and recreation. The proposed action may result in a loss of recreational opportunities or a reduction of an open space resource as designated in any adopted municipal space plan. No. Impact on critical environmental areas. The proposed action may be located within or adjacent to a CEA. The answer is no. We do have adopted ones in this community, in our town, but not located by Belvedere. Question 13, impact on transportation. The proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. No. It's on a state highway and can easily handle any traffic. Impact on energy. The proposed action may cause an increase in the use of any form of energy. The answer, I think, would be no, because it was at one time fully functioning it's not going to be any different than what it was when it was functioning with all buildings in use. Impact on noise, odor, and light. The proposed action may result in an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. It would actually be, the answer is no, it would actually be less noise than before because you're not going to be having the permanent tent that was supposed to be temporary. Impact on human health. The proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. The answer is no. This is a nice, easy one to do when it's already all built. Consistency with community plans. The proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans.
It's like a triple negative, but no.
Consistency with community character. The proposed project is inconsistent with the existing community character. The answer is no. So we will, as part of our resolution in 2 weeks, we'll actually adopt the neg deck as part of that. But we already have the negative declaration filled out, ready to go.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else to add?
I just had one more question on
Please.
the conditions that are being discussed. One of the comments, the other comment of the Department of Health was that on-site wells should be properly abandoned or properly maintained to ensure protection of the aquifer. There's some consideration being given to possibly using those wells for outdoor irrigation. But again, our concern is that the signing of the site plan not be held up for that. We would agree that that should be a note on the plan, that we have no objection to Pete signing off on it. We have no objection to there being a reasonable time, perhaps the deadline to get the CO for the actual building seems like a reasonable time period. But again, we would like to open the mansion with a signed site plan. So, again, those are tweaks. We don't object to the substance of the condition, just what is the triggering event. So we just ask you to think about that.
And as you, assuming you're gonna go ahead and move ahead with, the pool, that.
Yeah, and we've just learned some interesting facts about that too.
Assuming you're gonna go move ahead with that, then they would certainly, look at their comment about the abandonment of the wells, being now that the facility's on the public water supply. Right.
Yeah.
So they would go pick that up as part of their review of the pool permit. They kind of look at the whole site when they
Right,
have,
so,
a
so I
permit.
think that's something that's going to go
And
into
a food
next
service
summer
permit,
anyway.
so they get a food service, permit from them, so, I mean, I personally don't really see any issue with holding anything up because of that either.
No, and I think it's nice to, if you want to keep the site irrigated properly, if you want to use the well water, I don't see any reason why not to. It's only your danger of it not, staying adequate to the needs, as opposed to tying it into the municipal system. So,
Right.
I know I have irrigation, and when we have our drought, which we've been having every summer lately, between July and August, it's just dry before we have rain again. I've had to use a lot of water.
Yeah.
I'm extensively landscaped with thin soil and rock, so it just goes right back into the river where it comes from. I'm renewing, I'm giving it right back. But your well may not be sufficient because it's a fairly large property, Belvedere, and it's extensively landscaped as well, as we saw from the plan. So, but we can work on those conditions, and
We can talk about moving that to be a condition of CO.
that's what I was just thinking, because that would give you, I think, plenty of time. And I'm going to go on a limb here, and I don't want to put Victoria on the line, but is there any reason why they couldn't use the mansion itself right now for lodging? It's these two buildings that, as I understand it, were never CO'd, so no one should be staying in
I
them.
spoke to Jennifer Van Tile about that
Oh.
earlier today and said that we had the same discussion, and the applicant, I don't want to misstate, but the applicant feels that they would rather wait until they have the signed site plan, so there's no question about
Okay.
the legitimacy of the site.
No problem.
Right, and the.
We want to get the signature on there as quickly as possible.
We do, and there have, in the discussions that we've all had over past months, we've recognized that use of property subject to a signed site plan, when it is subject to a site plan, is the proper way to do it. And after making all these efforts to bring the site into compliance, we just, by gum, like to have the site in compliance.
I like it. I just wanted to make sure,
nice.
yeah, I wanted to make sure that that it didn't appear as though the town was holding anything
No,
back from
not at
operating
all.
there. So, okay, then may I get a motion to adjourn this to December 21st?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And assuming everything's done, if you don't want to come back, we can send you a copy of the approval resolution in advance.
We wouldn't miss it for the world. We understand there's a special dress code and everything for that meeting.
I didn't need
For the
to-
21st?
Oh, I told her that was our holiday meeting.
It is, and I prepare
Elf hats
goodies, but,
bibs,
yeah. It's handmade goods and
Red.
liquid potions from
Wow.
my little hands. So, but no special attire required, just maybe
Oh,
something
okay.
to prevent.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I try to wear, I wear,
told her
I
about
thought it was
everyone wears
festive
holiday.
attire.
yes, I wear holiday attire every year, so that's the time. But usually in pants so that you can't see it when I'm sitting down in front of you. I think I had Christmas trees on my red velvet, my red corduroys last year.
Oh,
There you go, and model it. Okay, so we'll see you in 2 weeks then.
All right,
And if
great.
you have any problems with Mr. Westermeyer, let us know. Okay?
no, we're working, Warren actually has all the materials tonight so that he can leave them, and Don will have them on his desk first thing in the morning. So we hope that the inspection could be completed well in advance. Did you have that in an envelope we can leave here for them?
Well, I have it here, but I can also bring it back for Don tomorrow.
Is there, if we leave it with you, is his office accessible, if we left it with Cynthia?
Someone have
That's-
access to his
that's-
inbox?
It's something that needs to be delivered to Don Westermeyer. And then also, please schedule the fire inspection.
This is Warren's
For the main
letter,
building.
which you saw earlier, and the CO.
Thank you. And yes, I would schedule the fire inspection of the main building.
They've actually had, the owners have had walkthroughs from all the people, and they have a list of things to do for each building. So I mean,
Okay.
that process has already started.
Good, thank you. Okay, then we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay, we look forward to it. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
The next item on the agenda is the site plan extension for Lands of Cire. This would be the empty plaza across from the diner. Thank you. The applicants have requested an extension of time in which to complete construction, which they started. They've installed their stormwater and some other things. They put in the sidewalk and a stone wall. In the interim, we had a letter from the zoning administrator just pointing out that the sidewalk is not always maintained, which is not a planning board issue, because that's, in our code, it says that all elements of site plan are supposed to be maintained, and that's a separate section of code for sidewalks. That'd be an enforcement issue. But she also mentioned repair of the stone wall, and she wanted to see updates to the stormwater. I forwarded the letter on to the applicant and his representative, Mr. Berger. They've indicated, that's on the stormwater, they've indicated that they're going to be responding in narrative to how the the erosion sediment control plan is still updated, et cetera. So we'll have that before the meeting, and we can make a condition of the extension, the repair of the stone wall. It was, if you recall, this is the part that's by Calmer that was hit by a vehicle. And there's, because it's a mortared wall, there's a big section just sort of lying over there. So that's for you to consider, but I think that's what we would do, is put that into an extension. In the meantime, I get a motion to set this public hearing for December 21st.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The next item would be release of escrow. These are sums for the assisted living facility, which I'm happy to say is up and opening. It's as its CO, and it's actually got some people living or about to move in, I think.
Yeah, it's had cars in front of it.
The other one, the next one we'll be releasing will be Hunter's Lodge. This would be because we have a new owner. When the prior owner was trying to get approval, we had some escrow left over, so that those amounts will go back over to the prior owner. And then we also have Roosevelt Firehouse, which I'm happy to say is also up, running, and looking really gorgeous over there on 9G. So making a motion to, I'll move it. It's Resolution 16-H. I move that we return escrow for Hyde Park Alf, Hunter's Lodge, Roosevelt Firehouse, and the amounts as shown on the sheet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Then I'd like to maintain both our attorney and our engineering and planning consultants. And we've received contracts from each. They have not changed their prices from this year. The only person who cannot vote on this yet would be Ms. Kane, because she has applied to be reappointed, but we would normally do this at a reorganization meeting in January. However, as I understand it, the town board will not be reorganized until January 9th. So that means that you can still come to the meeting, Ms. Polidoro? She can still come, she just can't vote?
No, she can still vote.
She can vote too, so she could vote on this then as well?
Let her vote.
Jeez,
Voter suppression.
cranked him up tonight.
What, I'm sorry. Can I not vote on it?
You would be a holdover until a new person is appointed. Generally, it's been the policy of the board that the person who's going off doesn't vote in case someone else is appointed that year
Fair enough.
to, so that they would have a say in the consultant.
But if we have votes that night on January the 4th, then she could go ahead and vote.
She could.
Thank you. I was not aware of how that worked, so I was a little worried about it. But I know on the Community College Board of Trustees I'm on, that's exactly how we have someone who's now been serving almost a year since her term was up, because it's a county legislative appointment and they haven't made an appointment yet. So she stays and votes just like regular, et cetera. So this is smart, because otherwise you don't want there to be ties, et cetera. So let's see, make it a motion, or wait, first, any discussion? Then make it a motion to authorizing me to sign contracts with both Rodenhouse and Shaw.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And a motion allowing me to sign a contract with Moore Associates for 2017 work for engineering and planning.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I want to
Thank
make a
you.
public comment that I think it's very admirable that the rates have not gone up, so appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
And has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of October 19th, November 2nd, and November 16th?
Yes.
Look good.
Only two of them.
I was not here for November 2nd.
Correct. You
Yes,
guys
some-
can't vote
some-
for that.
Some of us are, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mix and match there.
So can I get a motion from everyone to adopt the minutes of October 19th? And let's see, you weren't here for Chris,
He wasn't here on that second.
for October
There you
19th.
go. So
I'll
moved.
make the motion.
Seconded.
Sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
And who needs to recuse themselves from the November 2nd? That would be Chris.
I do.
And November 16th would be
Ann and Bob.
Ann and Bob.
That's me.
Okay, so making a motion from everyone except Chris to accept the minutes of November 2nd.
Aye. Oh,
So moved.
Wait,
there a second?
there's a move and a second? Yes, Ms. Kane, will you second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now making a motion from everyone, get a motion from anyone except Ms. Dexter to approve the minutes of November 16th, and Mr. Groninger.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Finally, making a motion to approve the 2017 meeting dates. We did eliminate one date, if you noticed, the one that's closest to July 4th. I think it's July 5th
Yeah.
would be the meeting, and it just doesn't seem like there might be quorum, so making a motion to adopt those meeting dates.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Any other business? Making a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We'll see you for the holiday party.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Media Committee, as always, and you're welcome to join us for the holiday goodies after the meeting next week.
Okay.
It's fine.